Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Use LinkedIn to Win Clients with Adam Franklin. Today, you're listening using your computer speaker system by default. You will have the opportunity to submit questions to Adam by typing them into the questions pane on the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time. Adam will address them during the presentation. Adam Franklin is the author of Web Marketing That Works, an Amazon #1 bestseller. He is a professional speaker, university lecturer, and CEO of Blue Wire Media, which he co-founded in 2005. Accolades include being named Australia's #1 business blog, #7 LinkedIn expert in the Asia Pacific, and his podcast was #9 on Entrepreneur Magazine's top marketing podcast. Adam's work has featured in Forbes, Huffington Post, Entrepreneur, The Australian, and the Sydney Morning Herald. Adam helps consultants win high-value clients via LinkedIn. He teaches thousands of students via his online courses and coaching programs, and his weekly Blue Wire news email goes out to over 32,000 professionals worldwide. I will now hand this over to Adam.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Welcome to the call, and we're going today to explore how to use LinkedIn to win clients. So, just quickly, I'd love to know whereabouts you're tuning in from. As Ida said, if you can just type that into the chat box or the Q&A box. I would love to be able to see where you're tuning in from. And let me just check that that screen's working okay. Yeah. Okay, just confirming that's working. What have I done? There we go. Okay, so I can't see where the chat right now. So Ida, what I'll do is I'll just get you to let me know when there's questions. But I just want you to think about, folks, on a scale of 1 to 10, how effective do you feel you are on LinkedIn at the moment? Here we go, there's the chat box. Okay, Queensland, Hobart, Sydney, Brisbane, Danny from Sydney, Saul, Perth, Melbourne. Awesome, folks, I can see you there. Got it. Fantastic. All right, and on a scale of 1 to 10, just let me know in the chat, how effective do you feel you are on LinkedIn at the moment? 1 being lots of room for improvement, 10 being pretty proficient, like you're winning clients, you're building relationships, you're doing all that fun stuff. Okay, 5 out of 10, 4 for 5, 1, 0, 0, 4, 1, 4. Okay, folks, all right. That is great. We're going to learn a lot of good stuff today, and I'm certainly going to, I hope, move you up a couple of numbers there so that you feel a lot more confident and proficient using LinkedIn. Now, I have prepared a whole bunch of resources for you. So all of the stuff that we cover today, there are guides that you can refer back to so that you can implement this stuff. So I have set up a web address for you, just a private page, especially for APPA members on the call and on the replay. So the link is bluewiremedia.com.au. Ida might even put that in the chat room in the Q&A for us, but just type that straight into the URL area and you will get 10 guides. There's no opt-in required. You just click the link and download it, as well as a chapter from my book, Web Marketing That Works. So you can refer back to all this information so that you can implement it after today's session. Okay, so at the time of recording, we're still in lockdowns across Australia. So what this has actually meant is that, yes, we're working from home. Yes, no, we can't go into the office and conduct in-person meetings. So it's caused a drop in people being out and about, but internet traffic has surged up 70% around the world, and social media use has jumped a whopping 22%. So what this means is that it's a tremendous opportunity for us to be leveraging social media and online platforms, particularly LinkedIn. Because we're in the B2B space, with the promotional products, there's a huge opportunity to be nurturing relationships, connecting with people, and using the online tools at our disposal. So what I want to do now is just quickly share my iPad with you, and I'll show you a 20,000-foot helicopter view of what we can be doing. So there's basically 3 pillars to this methodology that I'll show you. The first is we want to be able to connect with people. So LinkedIn is the world's largest professional business network. So if we can use this platform to connect with people, that is going to open up a tremendous amount of opportunity to find our ideal future clients. Now, at a high level, once we have connected with somebody, what we really want to do is to secondly educate them. And we tend to do this with the content and IP that we have. Okay, so we connect with people on LinkedIn, and then we go ahead and educate them about how we can help, about solving their problems, helping them achieve their goals. And the third pillar in this process is to actually use these tools to convert the people in your network to become high-value clients. And normally the best tool for this is email, and then that leads to the phone conversations or the Zoom meetings, or if it's not locked down, the in-person meetings where we actually close the business. So where all these 3 circles intersect, that is where we get to the opportunity to work with the high-value clients. So today, the specific areas that we're going to focus on is LinkedIn. So we're going to be looking at your LinkedIn profile, your network, and how to find your ideal future clients, because as I said, LinkedIn is the world's largest business network, and also the activity that you want to be doing either publicly or privately using LinkedIn. And so with these 3 parts of LinkedIn, that's what we're going to focus on today. So that gives you the context of what we're going to be covering. Now, the prettier version of that is this. This is the sort of complete methodology. So if we really, if we want a shorter sales cycle, we need to be building high trust relationships. If we want more word of mouth and referrals, we need to be top of mind with the right people. And if we want more sales, leads, opportunities, and meetings, we need to be growing our pipeline. But the first things we need to worry about are our LinkedIn profile, our network, and our activity. So that's what we'll be covering off. Now, if you do have questions as we go, please feel free to type them in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on those. And if it's appropriate to answer them at the time, I will. Otherwise, there's time that I've set aside at various stages to address them for you. All right, so let me just quickly talk about how LinkedIn can be so powerful in terms of getting us to what I like to say is the consistency line. A lot of the time, if we are getting word of mouth and referrals, that's fantastic. But we're not always in control of those because they kind of happen to us when we don't have that certainty over lead flow and the high value clients that come out the end. So really, if we're inconsistent in terms of our lead flow, that can be a pretty nerve-wracking experience. But when we know who our ideal clients are and how we nurture them along each stage of the journey, that's when we've got that certainty, and that's when we can actually cross this consistency line. And what I hope to show you today is the process, the scripts, the workflows, so that you know how to turn the tap on, so that you can have a consistent lead flow and be constantly nurturing relationships to that stage. So that's what that's the sort of journey that we'll be taking you on today. And the prettier version of that is really looking like this. Basically, when you're starting out, then if it's a side hustle or you're dabbling, then there's a lot of uncertainty. As you move up this journey, you start out, there's some inconsistency, but really where we want to be playing is getting to this consistency line, because that's where we can be confident that the work's coming in. And as we grow beyond that, if we want to grow, if we want to scale, well, that's further on the journey. But today we're looking at specifically how to get over this consistency line. All right, folks, so what we're going to do now, I just want to talk a bit about how the future may look in promotional products and business in general. So obviously at the time of recording, there's still lockdowns, there's still all sorts of uncertainty regarding the economy and business and all the health implications and stuff as well. But if we look at the situation now, it is what it is, and there's opportunity. For some, it can be, and I'm not trying to discount some of the unfortunate stuff that's going on. But if we look to the future, to say 2022, that's only a couple of years away. We know that at some stage, we don't know exactly when, we know that we'll be allowed out, business will go back to normal, and we can start the recovery. Now that could be 6 months, it could be 12 months, could be 18 months. We don't quite know. But what we can be reasonably sure of is that if we don't take any action, if we don't do any lead gen, we don't do any relationship building, we don't do anything, and we're restricted by sort of panic and fear, and we're paralyzed by fear, we can be almost certain that it's not going to be a pretty scenario. The alternative to that is kind of scrapping, doing some activity but very responsive, and that might keep you in business, and it probably will, but chances are we'll be in much the same position in a couple of years' time. But where I'm seeing the opportunity, and particularly with LinkedIn, is the opportunity to be winning clients, building relationships, and filling the pipeline, so that the activity that we do now is useful, and then it can really set you up to thrive in the coming years. And so what I'm going to do today is talk to you about the activity that we need to be doing now so that we can be in a position to thrive moving forward. So just let me know in the comments, just type in yes if you'd like me to continue on and share with you what the activities are I think we should be doing to get to that thrive stage. So just type it in the Q&A, just type in yes. Vicky, thank you. Wonderful, I'll just grab a quick drink of water. Okay, fantastic. Let me just. Alrighty, so I'm just going to go back to my my slide deck now. I'm just switching between my iPad and my computer. So we'll just catch up. There we are. So the three things that I want to cover today is firstly exploring the actual size of this opportunity, the size of the market on LinkedIn, and how it applies specifically for you. Then we're going to look at how to optimize your LinkedIn profile, show you some examples of good ones, and show you some ways that you can be doing that effectively. And then look at how to use direct messages and a nurturing process so that you can take someone from being a stranger on LinkedIn all the way through to being a high value client. All right, so if you've ever been on LinkedIn, which I'm sure you have, what you will know, or what you know now, is that it has a very good search functionality. So you can actually go up to the top search box there, and if, say, you were selling promotional products to a marketing manager, what you would do is simply type in that role in the top part, and then you can actually filter by people, and then you can then filter by location. So if I was to do a search for marketing managers, sorted by people, sorted by Sydney as a location, that would give me 207,000 results, which is really huge. So let's just have let's just calculate the opportunity there. All right, so this is where you go. Okay, we're back on. So up here in the search box is where we type in the role that we might be selling to. So just let me know in the chat, what are the types of roles of people that typically are your ideal future clients? Is it a marketing manager that you're selling to? Is it a CEO? Is it a CMO? Just let me know in the chat the types of roles that are typically your best clients. Communications manager. Okay, so we've got comms manager. We've got business owners. Okay. Procurement officer, okay. Procurement officer, marketing managers and assistants, PAs, yep. Okay. Corporate affairs coordinators, HR coordinators, perfect. Okay, so that's awesome to know, because what we then want to do is we then want to conduct that search, just like I've done here, for all those different roles and how they apply to your business. So if you're selling to procurement officers, simply type in procurement officer up here. And if you're selling in the Sydney market, filter by Sydney. But if it's Perth, if it's Victoria, if it's Brisbane, just change that up. And LinkedIn will actually show you the size of that network here. So in this particular case, there's 207,000 marketing managers in the Sydney market on LinkedIn. So that's a big market. And what I like to do then is, so there's 207,000 and that's just in Sydney. So you could go ahead and do the same for each of those different types of roles that you've mentioned to me in the chat. You can tally them all up, but for the sake of this exercise, we'll call it 207,000 potential ideal future clients. Now, let's just quickly calculate the size of that opportunity. And then I'll show you how to actually get your hands on that opportunity. So 207,000 contacts. Let's say conservatively, I mean, you can typically expect a 30 or 40% acceptance rate when you write to somebody new and invite them to your network. And I'll show you some scripts that we can use further down this webinar once I've shown you this opportunity. But let's just say that 40% of people accept your connection request. So if you just get out, I'll just get out my calculator. If we do 207,000 people times a 40% connection request, so we've decided that 40% connection request, that gives us roughly 82,000, well, precisely 82,800 people. So that's huge. That's a huge, huge amount, and that's if 40% of people accept your connection request. You probably wouldn't even, you can't even have 82,000 contacts, so you could easily use up your 30,000 LinkedIn contacts with ideal future clients. Now, as a rule of thumb, you can typically expect 1% of the market to be making a purchase decision to buy promotional products right now. So whether they're using you or somebody else, 1% of the market at any point in time is making that purchase decision, is investing that money, and that is the market that we want to be in front of. We want a seat at that table so that we can be in the running for those opportunities. So if we do 1% of 80, let's call it 83,000. That's 828 marketing managers in Sydney who are going to make an investment into their promotional products, and that's big. Now, let's now talk about the sales conversion rate. So if you were to have say 10 meetings, what percentage of those people, if they were ideal prospects, do you feel you would typically be able to close and to sign the opportunity with? So let me know in the chat. Would you typically close 25% of the opportunities that you come across? Would it be more like 50%, 30%? What's your thoughts there? So let me know in the chat, what sort of percentage close rate would you expect? %, that's awesome. 5%, 50%, 40%, 50, 50, 40. Okay. Awesome. That's good. So if you were having the right meetings with the right prospects, you would be confident of 50% close rate. Let's be conservative. Let's call it a 40% conversion rate based on sort of average numbers of what you've been telling me in the chat. Sort of 40% conversion rate, back to the calculator, 828 people are making this decision right now or this week. If we have a 40% close rate, that's 331. That's 331 people that you could potentially be having as new clients. Now, next question for you. What would you say is a typical deal size for an order or for a new high value client? Roughly what dollars are we talking for a typical new promotional product engagement? Just let me know in the chat. I'll take a drink of water. So rough numbers, what would a nice deal be? A nice new client be worth to you? $2,000, 3 to 5 grand, 7 grand, 4 grand, 5. Okay. Well, let's be conservative. Let's given the economy and everything else at the moment, let's go on the lower side there. Let's call it $2,000. So 331 people times $2,000. that is a $662,000 opportunity of money that is going to be spent by your ideal clients, whether it's with you or with somebody else. So who would like to learn some approaches where we can actually access or get our hands on some of that opportunity that's out there in the marketplace? Just let me know in the chat, yes or no. Yes, if you would like some techniques for tapping into that opportunity that's currently out there in the marketplace. Totes, yes please, yes, 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 yes please. Awesome, awesome. All right, let's do this. Well, the first thing I want to talk about is your LinkedIn profile, because this is what people are going to be making their first impression on you, looking at. So when they do a Google search or your name gets mentioned by a friend, they're going to look you up on LinkedIn or they're going to look you up on Google. They're pretty much going to get to your LinkedIn profile through either of those paths. And we want to be making the right first impression. So in my research, I found the lovely Adrian Davidson on LinkedIn. And what I really like about his profile is a number of things. Firstly, he has got a very nice looking background image. So because people are very visual, and you know this being in promotional products, people are visual and tactile, but let's look at the visual side of things right now. You can tell at first glance what Adrian looks like and what he does. So utilizing that background images is super powerful, and we tend to make our first impression within a couple of seconds because we're very visual. We see the imagery, we see the headshot before we even process the copy or the words that's written on the profile. So this is fantastic. He's got his company logo up the top left. It's subtle, but it's there. You can see that there's promotional products. You can see his name and what he calls himself, a branded merchandise and promotional marketing expert. There's his email address and a picture of him at the whiteboard, presumably educating or teaching clients how they can be making the most of their branded merchandise. So immediately, in a split second, Adrian conveys a lot of knowledge. The second part that's really, it's always good to have an up-to-date headshot, which Adrian has there. I presume that is what he looks like right now. If it was 10 years old, I might say otherwise. But additionally, some of the most valuable real estate on your LinkedIn profile is this headline part here. So he has made the most of the character count. He has led, like he's started the description with the most important stuff: branded merchandise and promotional marketing specialist. So this is really good because it's using language that your ideal buyers understand. So if you're a marketing manager, procurement officer, HR manager, this is language that they will understand. Now, the mistake I see a lot of people make, and Adrian hasn't done it, but he could easily have said he is the director of Inc. merchandise, or the founder. He could be the founder and director of Inc. merchandise. Now, the fact that the word merchandise is in there is good, but him saying that he's the founder or the director of, say, Inc., that doesn't actually mean very much to people unless they already know him and the company. So he's done it really well. He said branded merchandise and promotional marketing specialist. I'm responsible for sourcing promotional product. So maybe a few typos there, but that's a banner. Responsible sourcing and promotional product safety expert. Okay, so maybe a tiny bit to fix up there, but it uses all the right keywords and he projects himself as the marketing specialist. So the things to avoid is just using bland, non-descriptive language that's only meaningful to you. We want to put ourselves in our buyer's shoes and say what it is that we can assist them with. Okay, so if you're looking to do one of these nice backdrops, then the tool that I use is Canva. I've created mine. I'll show you that in a sec, actually. But we can use Canva. And I've actually created a LinkedIn headshot guide. It's one of the resources on that page, which you can download. The link again, bluewiremedia.com.au/APPA. So go ahead and download my LinkedIn headshot guide. What it does is it shows you how to, and my LinkedIn profile checklist. Both of these have instructions on, firstly, how to get your headshot looking good. You can even put like things like a circle around it so you stand out more on the news feed, and also to create that LinkedIn banner that Adrian has done really well. All right, so that's the simplest stuff. What I'm going to do actually is I'll take you on a guided tour of some additional areas where you can that you can focus on when you're doing your LinkedIn profile. All right, so I'm just going to go to my profile. And I'll show you the areas that you want to keep in mind. Alrighty. So the first thing we want to address is what's called, I guess, a vanity URL. So across the top there, you will see that I have secured the URL linkedin.com/in. You can't change that bit, but then you can change what happens here. I've got Adam Franklin, which is my name. When you get your LinkedIn account sort of off the shelf, there's usually a string of numbers and letters at the end of that URL. If you want to change that so that it's tidier and more professional looking, you literally go here to edit public profile and URL. It opens up a new tab. And right here, where I've selected with my cursor, you can edit your custom URL. You hit the edit button and then you can change that. Assuming no one else has got it, if somebody else already has your name, try putting a year or a number or a company name in there as well. So that's how you change that. The headline part we've talked about, using language that's meaningful to your buyers. If you do want to do the fancy Canva graphic, you can overlay text on the top. So use some of the language you've used in your headline and put that on the banner. That way it reinforces who you are and what you do, but it uses that visual communication so that people can see it at a glance, get an idea of what you do. A couple of things, you want to just make sure that your contact info is up to date. Oftentimes we haven't checked our contact info since we logged onto LinkedIn years ago. You really just want to check that, if you're in a business development role, normally you want a way for people to contact you. Whether you put your mobile number or your landline, doesn't matter, depending on how you feel about sharing your mobile. I'm comfortable with it. I like to put in my email address so people can contact me, to just make sure that that's up to date. Then as you scroll down, this about section is really important in real estate too. So what you want to do is, ideally, you've got 2,000 characters to work with here, so there's a bit of space now, which we didn't used to have. So I like to break it up with some formatting, with some little bullet points or text, and formatting it so that people can scan it quite easily. Now, what I say is obviously going to be a lot different to what you say, but some things that I found work really well is being super specific about the types of people that you help. So if I was to think of Adrian's example before, branded merchandise and promotional marketing specialist. Great. So that could be the top section, but then you might say specifically, I help marketing managers who have, I don't know, 3,000 clients or 20 staff, or want to, and list out the bullet points of your sweet spot client. That way, when people do come to your LinkedIn profile, which is going to be quite a lot, it's the first thing most people are going to see when they do a bit of research / stalking. They're going to see that. And if they can look at that and go, okay, wow, I identify as being most of these things, Adrian or whoever, you must be, is probably worth connecting with and having a conversation with. But if there's other strings to your bow, then put them down the page so that it's easily scannable. And what I think is really worthwhile is, again, just putting your contact details on there, letting people know I'm open to being contacted, I'm open to chat, open to help. So if you want to, if you find that useful, you can feel free to follow that format. Just, you know, you can copy and paste mine and just change the words to suit you. But I found that process really good. As we scroll down our LinkedIn profile, what we want to do is, if you want to, you can feature certain posts or upload documents or whatever else. So if you've got like a really good resource for your ideal clients, drop that in there as well. Okay, so let's have a little breather there. Talk to me in the chat if there's any questions that you've got so far. If not, we can keep moving through it. But let me know in the chat if you've got any questions. There's that LinkedIn profile checklist that I mentioned. There's the link to get all of the resources. But if you want to dive deeper into what I've just told you, the LinkedIn profile checklist is the way to go. Okay, so the link, paid versus free profiles. Danny, great question. Fabiola, it's just on the screen there. bluewiremedia.com.au/APPA. Okay, free versus paid profiles. Good question, Danny. So everything I'm showing you today can be done on the free profile. You will have noticed in my demo before that I am on LinkedIn Premium. I've only been on, I'm just doing a trial, the first month trial for that. The reason I love LinkedIn has, on the free versions, has all the capacity that you need. So I'm testing out the premium version. There are some things you can do, but really everything I show you today is on free. I've been using the free version forever, up until the weekend when I tried out LinkedIn Premium. It's okay, but really there's so much value on the table with the free version. And the reason for that is that most of the low-hanging fruit is people that are already in your network. And I'm going to talk to you about this next. I don't think there's any reason to be, paying to interrupt strangers when right under your nose there's people in your network and your second degree network that you can communicate with for free. All right, so moving on. Here's some examples of when you do actually nail your LinkedIn profile. People will notice it. People will, that alone can help you attract the right types of leads. So this is an example. This is an accounting example, but the process is still the same. So what Mark did is he wrote to somebody that checked out his profile. He said, I've been following his colleague for a while, enjoying the post, and noticed that you looked at my profile and would like to connect. And so the prospect, Mark, he wrote back and said, Mark, funny you should connect with me. We've been looking at changing accountants, and that is why I looked at your profile. I feel we need someone who has more experience in the construction industry. Would you be interested in having a chat? And so that's just from a LinkedIn profile and a polite outreach message. So if you can have a great profile, keep an eye on people in your network, then these types of sales conversations stem from it quite often. So let's have a look at mining the old gold and the low-hanging fruit. I said earlier in response to Danny's question, so much of the value is on the free version because it's people in your network already. So what I like to do is mine the old gold. So chances are, if you've been in business a little while, there's a whole lot of old prospects. So people that have said no, or maybe, or even past clients. Maybe people that you've not worked with for a number of years. People that have said no in the past. People that didn't have the budget in the past, but maybe now they're in a new role. And so this is the old gold that you can be starting to reactivate for free and very, very easily. So that's the lowest hanging fruit. I reckon if you've got a CRM or you've got a list of all the contacts that you've worked with over the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, go back to those people, connect with them on LinkedIn if you haven't already, send them a message and see what they're up to. Now, the way to actually see who is in your database, like you've probably got a whole bunch of these ideal prospects already in your first degree connections. So again, if you were to do that exact same search that we spoke about before, typing marketing manager, filter by people, filter by Sydney, but the key here then is to look at who, I think it was 207,000 people all up. If I filter by first degree connection, like people I know already or have in my network already, and hit apply, what you'll see is that there's not, for me anyway, your results will be different, probably more because you sell to marketing managers, but there's actually already 921 people in my first degree connection who are my ideal future clients. So that's where you would start. You would write to each of these people, and if you knew them, great. If you didn't, they're just one of those, sort of strangers that are in your network but you don't actually know. Write to them and start a conversation, because that's the low-hanging fruit. That's that's where you want to be starting. In terms of a script, this is an example. Feel free to take it, tailor it to your own purposes. But what you might say, now this is a script. 80% of it's going to be the same each time you send it, but you personalize it. This is an example I sent. Thomas, long time mate, how's things with you? It's been a while since we crossed paths, probably at AWX many years ago. So it's personalised to him. I'm back in Brisbane now after 7 years on, I wrote on, I meant to say in, after 7 years in Sydney. So I made a typo. It's not the end of the world. In fact, sometimes when you make typos, people know that it's not just like some sort of automated robot or whatever. So typos aren't the end of the world. I try not to make them, but when they come across, they do, I'm told, seem human. What are you working on at the moment? So when I moved back to Brisbane, and any excuse to write back to people, I sent this off to a whole bunch of contacts in my network who fit my ideal future prospect, ideal future client description. Now what you'll see, this is tailored to each individual, so it takes a little bit of work, but 80% of it is the same for everybody. The only bits I've changed is their first name and where I last crossed paths with them. So you can save that script, tailor it, change their name and where you last saw them, and send that out to reactivate a whole bunch of people in your network. David, I will get to your question shortly. Okay, let's tackle this. Okay, David said, over the years, have targeted potential customers with brief messages specifically about a product offer or what service we can provide and what we specialize in benefits that we offer. usually no response even if I email them. Is this a common issue as don't need context to increase my numbers? Good question, David. So what I think might be the challenge here is that as a message to prospects, it's kind of talking all about you, and it's talking about your products and your offer. So that to me, and I'll show you the nurturing process in a couple of slides time, but what we want to do first is to show an interest in them and find out how they're going, what their business is doing, what they're up to. So you see in this example with Thomas, I've asked, how's things with you? What are you working on at the moment? I haven't mentioned that I'm a LinkedIn coach, that I'm a speaker, that I've got online courses, that my product can help them achieve this wonderful outcome. I don't mention that at all. It's all about them. It's all about Thomas. So that would be my twist. People see that and go, okay, you've got a product, you've got an offer, here's the benefits. I didn't ask for any of that, so that it's easier just to ignore you because it feels like you're going to start to be sold something. That would be my take there, David. The offer does have a place in the sequence, just not straight up. First up should be about them. All right, so reaching out to new contacts is the next part I want to talk to you about. So let's assume we've done all the reconnecting. We've reconnected with the 921 people that fit our ideal future client criteria in our first degree network. Then we want to cast a wider net and grow our network with the other 207,000 marketing managers in Sydney. So we've got to reach out to them. One of the easiest and most effective, best performing scripts that I've used and my clients use. You don't want to overcook it. You don't want to like stalk them within an inch of their life and say, hey, mutual interests and common ground and rapport and everything is important, but you don't need to go, 3 years back into their digital footprint and say, hey, look, I saw you did this in 2004 and that's a really nice comment you made on this Facebook post. That's a bit unnecessary, creepy, too much. The simplest, best way to do it is to just say something like, I'd love to invite you to my Sydney Marketing Manager Network. So whatever your ideal client is, we had procurement officers. If you're in Victoria, you might write to them and say, hey, I'd love to invite you to my Melbourne or Victorian Procurement Officer Network. It speaks directly to them because they identify as that. It's one line, super simple. So I would recommend that script. What we want to do, and David, this will tie in your question of where do we make the offer, but what we want to be achieving with this is to have a nurturing system. There's 5 steps. We've just talked about firstly how to find the right people, which we've covered. Then we want to know how to nurture these people. So really there's 5 stages. We want people to know, like, trust us, then essentially raise their hand to express an interest in what we're doing and permission to talk to them about that. And then we have the, excuse me, trying to draw a speech bubble there, the sales conversation. So these are the stages we need to move people through. And David, it feels as though you're kind of trying to lead with a sale, or what certainly feels like a sales conversation, which is step 5, before really working through the first stage, the first 4 steps. So with that in mind, moving people through these conversations, we want to, get to know them. So again, asking about them. Everyone's favorite topic generally is themselves. So talk about them, not you. A really great way to get people to like you is to show the love first. So people are so addicted to, you know, social media and everything else. People love it when they get likes, get comments, so they can't help. You know, you get that dopamine hit when somebody likes or comments on something you've published. So what I would do to get on people's radar so that they like you is to have a look at their content, have a look at their LinkedIn profile, see if they've written an article, done a post, done anything like that. And as long as it is sincere and authentic, find a reason to congratulate them on something, find a reason to comment on their post, or find a reason just to like something that they've done. If you show an interest in them, human nature and reciprocity and all of that sort of stuff indicates that you're going to stand out from everybody else, because everybody else is trying to shove their products and offers and all this stuff in front of them. You're different, you're showing an interest in them and liking stuff that they've done, so they will feel a connection with you. Then as we whoops, I'll just call it show an interest in what they've done. Don't talk about your own stuff. The trust is the next part. So there's a few different ways to build trust. One of the best ways is to publish content yourself. That way you're doing it at scale. You are, like, if you've got 1,000 connections on LinkedIn and you're posting a piece of content every week, there's going to be hundreds of people that see you in their newsfeed each week. So at scale, people are seeing you because you're publishing and not many other people do. You're building your authority. That helps build trust. Additionally, if you didn't want to publish stuff, you can always write to people individually via direct message and offer them something. But the key here is permission to proceed. So rather than saying, hey, John, here's this awesome promotional package, valuable resource that I put together. I'd love you to let me know what you think about it. People go, well, I didn't ask for that, mate. Sure, it's valuable, but I didn't ask. The key here is to say, hey, John, I've actually got something that might be useful to you in your role as marketing manager. Would you be interested in seeing a copy? That's that permission to proceed part. Once you do that, they either, you know, say no, ignore you. But most of the time, if they're interested, they will say yes. That permission to proceed is the all-important step, because then they're essentially raising their hand to express an interest. Then you can ask permission to proceed to have a sales conversation or get feedback on what was in that document. So you get permission to send the document, they receive it, then you can ask for feedback, or then you can have a telephone conversation. Okay, so that covers a lot of what I wanted to cover today. So the three things we wanted to cover today were optimizing your LinkedIn profile, calculating the size of the opportunity in the marketplace, which is huge, and also how to develop that 5-step nurturing process to take someone from a stranger on LinkedIn all the way through to a sales conversation and a high-value client. Now I've got some time now for the Q&A. But firstly, let me ask you, what would it be worth to you to win a high-value client? You told me before how much a deal is worth, 3 grand, 2 grand, 7 grand. What is it worth to you to win high-value clients via LinkedIn? And secondly, is that worth allocating 30 minutes a day to? Just let me know in the comments, is that worth allocating 30 minutes a day? Call it even 15 minutes a day to tap into this opportunity that we have on LinkedIn. Yes, awesome. Of course, yeah. It's not magic, it's just maths. If you are reaching out to the right people, nurturing them one step of the way, taking them through the 5 steps, not rushing to step 5, then you will have that certainty and that confidence that you're filling your pipeline, you're building relationships, and you're going to get the high value clients at the end of the day. So Q&A time here. I know there was one from Danny before. Should we accept let me try that again. Should we accept all requests to connect, even if they're in other countries and have nothing in their profile we're interested in? That, i.e. LinkedIn connection gatherers. I don't connect with them, mate. No. If they're in a weird country, there's nothing related to what you're doing, and no, I've always got like hundreds of connection requests that I ignore. So I'm open to connecting with people who I don't know yet, because that's how business works. That's how relationships in real life work. But no, I just don't accept everybody. I read over their profile. If they've written me a note, chances are I'll accept. If they are in the same country as me, if they look like they're in a related sort of industry, I will, but I don't just collect everybody. Next question. How do you manage having 2 or more businesses in your profile other than company pages? Alrighty, let me just show you a pro tip here. And this is Danny again. So you have got the option, Danny, say you're working with 2 different companies, which is very common. So you don't have that much space up here to really cover it off, and you don't need to. You've only got room for 1 company there, so pick your primary one. But in the About section, you can talk about that here. If you've got, say, 1 promotional products business and then 1, say, educational, maybe seminar type, I teach people how to use promotional products, and that's a separate business with a separate name. You can talk about both of those in the About. Additionally, what you want to check out is this experience section, which now gives us so much more scope. In the past, you could literally like have a couple of sentences about your, if I've been with this company 15 years or in 5 months, I started at 2005. That's a lot of time to convey to people in a sentence or 2. But now we can really flesh it out. So you can put different sections within this. So I've got parts about my speaking, I've got parts about my coaching, I've got parts about my training workshops, my book, etc., etc. Concurrently with that, you can also put in information about your other business. So I do some occasional guest lecturing at universities. So if I had a separate company, I would put that in here so that in the experience section, you can talk a lot more about it there. Okay. Now, next question. I know we're just got 2 minutes till we wrap up. Just keep mentioning your questions in the chat if you've got them. But if you're interested in doing a deeper dive on any of this stuff, I'm actually running a LinkedIn Accelerator for Consultants Zoom workshop. It's a half-day workshop on Friday. It's free to attend, but we're going to go into more detail into other areas of LinkedIn. There will be some similarity of parts with this, but it's a half-day workshop as opposed to a 45-minute webinar. So if you want to attend that, be my guest. The URL is bluewiremedia.com.au/invite. That's Friday, 8 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. We'll go through till 1 o'clock, 4 sessions. We'll dive deeper into more scripts for that 5-step nurturing process. We'll look at the ins and outs of publishing content and how to attract leads at scale, and some really cool techniques for that. So it's just a deeper dive of what we've touched the surface on today. So if you're interested in that, feel free to write down that URL. It'd be lovely to have you on board. And if you felt like talking about this in any further detail with me, feel free to book in a growth call. Actually, I'll go back to my other slide because it's got my email address on, which might be easier for you. I'll just scroll right to the end. And we're nearly there. So on the workshop, we'll dive into how to use videos, how to post content. Last slide, here we go, there's my email address. So if you want to book a time to chat, feel free. I can help put together a LinkedIn game plan, a LinkedIn plan for you. My email is adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au. Or if you just want to go ahead and book in a growth call, answer a couple of questions about your business, and there'll be a link direct to my Calendly booking system. We can have a half-hour chat and see how we can put a plan in place for you. Do you do profile reviews and audits, Danny? Yes, I do. That could be part of our, actually, part of the LinkedIn Accelerator workshop on Friday. That's free to attend. It's half-day workshop. If you actually want the recording to refer back to, there's a VIP upgrade option, which is $47. And part of that is a deep dive one-on-one coaching session with me. Part of that would be a LinkedIn profile review and audit, plus working with me to craft your 5-step messaging system specific for your business. So I do that, and I don't normally offer it except for private coaching clients, because I've got this workshop on Friday. Part of the $47 upgrade is a profile review and audit. Alrighty, I might hand back to you, Ida. I know we're at 12:01. Thank you for joining me, folks. If you've got any closing thoughts, actually, last thing to type in the comment, what did you find most valuable on today's webinar? What did you find most valuable on today's webinar? I'd love to find out what resonated, what landed with you. Take a moment to write that in the chat. The 5-step nurturing system, the nurturing, the headline information and invite message, awesome. Being reminded that the simple things work, yes, you just got to keep doing them. There's no magic to getting fit or being healthy. You just have to eat right each day and exercise. But if you do it once and go, the results didn't happen, it's just simple stuff done consistently. Yeah, cool. Love to see you Friday, David. The profile page info and easier to reach out to clients. Yeah, it is very easy to reach out to clients and prospects. Inspired to get your profile updated and start using LinkedIn to my advantage. Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm happy to take more questions, but Ida, I'd prefer to hand back to you. I appreciate the time we've spent together. I'll see some of you on Friday, and some of you can email me and book in a time. Danny, that's great. That link before, bluewiremedia.com.au/invite. I'll just send it to you in the chat now. So that's been, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, it would be great to see you there too. Danny, that's the link I have just sent to register. If you can't attend, there's the upgrade page after you submit your details, and you can book in that VIP upgrade there.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam, for that fantastic presentation. As Adam mentioned, if you have any questions that come to mind after the presentation, you can send them to adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au. I will also include that as part of tomorrow's email you will receive with a copy of the recording, and I will also add the links and also the page where you can register to obviously attend his webinar on Friday. So I'll include all of that as well. So thank you once again, Adam. And on behalf of Adam and APPA, thank you for all our participants joining us today. And I hope you all have a great afternoon. Thank you.